Hey everyone, my name is Dillon Gonzalez. I'm the editorial director of GeekVibesNation.com and also a co-host of the Home Dance Film Festival podcast. And welcome to a brand new episode of No Streaming Required, your weekly deep dive into all the latest and greatest in the world of physical media. Welcome back. We have another amazing show for you. This is actually a landmark show because we are talking about two labels that we've never talked about on the show before. Plus, we have a bunch of fan favorites. We have stuff from Arrow Video, A24. It's another installment of Exploring the Warner Archive. We have so much stuff that I'm dying to get into, so I'll do just that with one release that caught me totally off guard. It is from one of the aforementioned new labels. It is actually the first release directly from them. It is the Apple TV release of CODA on 4K Ultra HD, Oscar winner for Best Picture just a few years ago. Now, this is a notable release because Apple has never released any physical media directly themselves. We have talked about Apple shows and stuff like Severance and For All Mankind. Ted Lasso has been released by Warner Brothers, but all of those were released because they had kind of licensing deals from the production studios that made those shows and stuff. But in terms of movies, it's been kind of sparse. We also got a release of the Velvet Underground documentary from the Criterion Collection several years back. But from Apple directly, they haven't been a entity that has been interested in releasing physical media themselves. So that's why when anyone wanted to own a recent Best Picture winner like CODA on physical media, you had to go overseas and import from like Italy or Germany somewhere over there, that a 4K release that wasn't as easy for American customers to just easily go to their local favorite retailer. But now we have their first release. So this is also available on Blu-ray for those who are interested. It's not just a 4K release, but I'm glad that they did give a 4K option for this one. Because it is a movie that I really, really love. I first saw it the year it was released. It played at Sundance. I host a Sundance themed podcast. So I may be genetically predisposed to love this movie. But it's really a heartwarming tale. CODA stands for Child of a Deaf Adult. So it's a story of a young girl who is she lives in a family full of deaf people. Her mom and dad are deaf. Her brother's deaf. She is the only hearing person in her family. So as such, she has a little bit extra responsibility around the house in terms of like helping them navigate certain kind of adult things that they need to do in terms of like interpreting for them, like at special like doctor's visits and stuff like that. But also working with them on their fishing boat that they have. And all the while, she also has her own passion for music, and she kind of wants to kind of pursue that. But she's kind of torn between these two worlds of this kind of perceived responsibility that she has to her family and her own personal desires and what she wants out of life. And it's a pretty simple story, and I think this is a reason that a lot of people kind of gave this a little bit of a backlash once it won Best Picture, because it's kind of a small film, but it's very moving and very personal, and I really love it. But when it won Best Picture over some titles that people may have perceived to be more artistically ambitious, I think it kind of emboldened people to kind of crap on this movie when it really doesn't deserve it. It's just really like a small, lovely movie that really captured people's hearts during that voting process, and it ended up winning Best Picture. And I think it, like, taking away the laurels and all the awards and stuff, if you look at the movie itself, it's just really showing a perspective that's not really perceived on screen a lot, or like depicted on screen a lot. You have actual deaf and hard of hearing actors in these roles, and they're really fleshed out characters, and that's also not something that we got even like a decade ago in immense quantities. And this is just kind of a movie that helped even like kind of grow some of these roles in other Hollywood productions and stuff. So I think there's a lot to love about this movie in terms of like the movie itself and how it makes me feel, and how much and just like how it navigates this kind of material, and also what it's done as a cultural touchstone in cinema, and how it's kind of emboldened certain like studios and stuff to kind of think outside the box in terms of diversity and stuff. No matter what kind of administrations might be trying to strike against diversity, I'm all for it, and I'm glad that this at least kind of helped nudge the door open a little bit. And I recently talked about the Marlee Matlin documentary before I even knew this was coming to physical media, and she really talked a lot about how her performance in this movie really kind of opened up a lot of the floodgates in that. So just kind of that, having that on Blu-ray now with this on 4K, it's really just a great time for her and just for the deaf community. And there are options to accommodate deaf or hard of hearing listeners. So you have the movie you can watch with like subtitles only, subtitling the sign language portions of things, or you can watch it with full SDH subtitles as well, if you need that. This is presented in Dolby Atmos audio, and it's presented in Dolby Vision in the 4K. This looks amazing in Dolby Vision. I think it looks very nice in terms of the compression and everything. Everything seems pretty solid. I didn't notice anything super erroneous. All the colors are really nice and deep and bold. This looks exactly how I think it should look. And the Atmos track, it's not like a crazy ambitious sonic palette, but there are certain things that help the Atmos track kind of expands out, like certain like birds flying overhead whenever they're out on the water and stuff like that. But it's just a really nice immersive experience. There's no special features on this, but just having this movie off of streaming strictly, this is, what's the name of the show? No streaming required. So having that available on physical media is just a win itself. So great audiovisual quality, and you can have it on your shelf now without having to import it. So CODA on 4K from Apple, major release from them, and I'm so excited to have it. And I hope this just opens the door for even more releases from Apple in their original products, because there's a lot of movies from them I would love to have on my shelf. So crossing my fingers for that. So the last movie made me cry, and now this next movie made me cry for a different reason, going for the emotional ones early in the show. This is from Music Box Films and their release of Familiar Touch. This is a small movie, once again, that packs a punch, about a woman who is suffering from dementia, and her son kind of helps move her into a home, and kind of this is really a focused portrait of how this impacts her and her kind of perception of the world. I know a lot of movies that deal with like Alzheimer's or dementia or any kind of cognitive decline, and a lot of times while it does focus on the person, it'll usually kind of focus more so on how it impacts a lot of the people around them. And I think this, while it does show a little bit of that in terms of like she has a son, surprisingly played by H. John Benjamin, who people may know as the voice of Bob and Bob's Burgers or Home Movies. He plays a very reserved role in this that I was very impressed by. But the true star of this is our main lady, who is our protagonist, and she does an amazing job kind of portraying a lady who, it's not over dramatizing things. It's very subtle in her performance and how she kind of eases in and out of certain moments and of confusion, and she really builds a world a lot with how her facial movements and her perception of things mix with some of how the filmmaking in terms of the sound design and stuff. There are moments where you'll get the sense of like a flashback without them actually showing like flashback footage. You'll just kind of see the look on her face mixed with certain like sound choices that like from another place that kind of get like transports you into a moment that you don't see, but you kind of understand based on her reality of how she's perceiving stuff. And it's a lot of moments like these that really stand out and are really powerful. And it's a short movie, so it's like only an hour and a half. So it's not going to kind of prolong the kind of like heart wrenching moments of being in this kind of state, but you really get a sense of how this woman is existing. She's a really fleshed out person who doesn't have quite of a firm grasp on who she is and her place in the world, and it's devastating, but it's also has moments of beauty in it, and it's just such a movie that it might take some kind of courage to work up to watching this, because it does take a lot out of you watching this. But once you do watch it, it is super powerful. And just the way this is kind of constructed, both on a performance level, mixed with the direction, this is the first time director. She does an amazing job. It's really masterful, and it's very impressive, and it's one of the better films I've seen this year. It's not one I'll probably be eager to watch again right away, but definitely one that when I'm in the right mind frame, will definitely watch again. It's familiar touch. It looks great on Blu-ray. It's a brand new movie. It's kind of very small production, so it's not like the most like bombastic kind of visual palette, but what is there is clear. Textural details are obvious, and the colors are bold and nuanced. The audio track is similarly reserved, but as I mentioned, there are the moments where they kind of plays in to kind of the expanding the narrative through sound design, and that's very helpful with this 5.1 track. It sounds really nice. Optional subtitles, English SDH subtitles. You do get a couple of good special features. You get a round table that's pretty like a little over an hour and a half. You get interviews. You get a Q&A, a post-screening Q&A. You get a behind-the-scenes featurette. Some really nice, a little bit over an hour and a half worth of special features, which is pretty good. So audiovisual wise, great. Special features wise, really good assortment here. And I think if you are up for it, if you want a real human emotional tale, familiar touch, well worth your time. Don't be scared by it. It's a beautiful movie, even if it will quietly devastate you. One more for more of the adult crowd is our new release from Universal. It's a 4K release of Downton Abbey, the grand finale. Now, I've talked about this series before on this show a while back, whenever I was covering the Blu-ray, and I've did written reviews for the previous movie of this one. But here we see the kind of the culmination of like 15 years of storytelling in the Downton Abbey universe. There's been a lot of changes over the years, a lot of ascendance and power structures, and cast members lost, just different developments. And in this final chapter, there's a lot more of the same. You're catching up with the characters you love. There are difficulties, growing pains, adapting with the changes of the times. There are financial struggles with kind of like where they are at this point of history in terms of like the financial crisis. There are personal scandals. There's a lot of stuff going on. I don't think casual fans or like first-time viewers of this series need to jump in right at the end. I think they would still get a degree of enjoyment out of it, just because you can understand a little bit of the like just adult drama things happening. But if you've been a fan since the beginning, just knowing all the backstories of these characters and where they come from and now where they are ending up, it's just a really rewarding experience. And this might be the third, if you watch all these in a row, it might be your third film in a row where you find yourself shedding some tears. But there's a lot of fan service in here, but in terms of like movies that use fan service, I think this one does it very well. It's respectful towards fans. It doesn't overindulge in it, but it rewards those who have been there for a while. And there's some most of the faces you want to see or hear in one way or another. Some you may want to have gotten a little bit more screen time. But given the scope of this story and cast and everything, it's pretty impressive that they managed to give a satisfying conclusion to pretty much everyone, which made this such an enjoyable watch. And I'm all for the Downton Abbey universe. It's just kind of a comfort watch. And if you find it the same, I think you'll be very pleased by this new 4K disc in Dolby Vision with Dolby Atmos audio. Looks spectacular. It's the one thing you can count on with Downton Abbey. It's the lavish production design, and this 4K release captures it to perfection. Looks really great. Sounds great with the Dolby Atmos audio. It's properly immersive. You do get a commentary track with this one, and you get a boatload of featurettes that goes into like remembering the series, looking into different design elements. There's a lot of stuff here. So Universal, they didn't skimp here. They've done a nice job. All three Downton Abbey movies are in 4K. So I'm glad they continued that. And the grand finale, it's a good one to conclude your collection. I think you'll be very pleased if you are a fan. All right, now enough of being prim and proper. It's time to go back to our roots. For the sickos in the audience, we have another new release, this time from Cineverse. And so, as far away as Downton Abbey as we could get, we had the 4K release of the Toxic Avenger with this really cool lenticular slipcase. There's a steelbook version of this available, but I don't think I'd want to give up this lenticular version. It's pretty cool. So this is starring Peter Dinklage. This is another reimagining of the classic Toxic Avenger movie. I talked about the 4K collection of that last year from Troma. And this is a movie, it debuted at festivals a few years back, and it took a while for it to get proper distribution and stuff, but it finally came out this year, and I had a blast with it. Might be slightly sacrilegious, but I kind of like it more than the original Toxic Avenger, just because me and Troma don't always mix. I did like some of the Toxic Avenger movies pretty well, but this is still disgusting, but it just kind of gelled with me a little bit more, and I think it had a little bit more going on for it story-wise. There's still ridiculous elements to this, but just the story of like a stepdad who's trying to take care of his stepson, who like he's the only one who's around for him any longer, and he works as a janitor, and he ends up getting kind of he's like on his last leg, ends up getting in like covered with his toxic waste, turns into the Toxic Avenger, and is trying to get kind of vengeance on these people who have wronged him, while also trying to take care of his stepson, who at first, seeing this grotesque monster doesn't give him the warmest welcome, I was just to say. But once our protagonist turns into the Toxic Avenger and the gore starts flying and everything, it gets really wild, really fun. It's way over the top, but it's good dark humor, gross out humor. Not every joke lands. A lot of it's pretty juvenile, but when it does, it's really fun. You got a great performance from Elijah Wood, completely committed in his kind of like ridiculous character here. You got Kevin Bacon as a main villain. That's fun too. Overall, Toxic Avenger, the new version, it's quite fun. I had a great time with it, and I'm glad this got a 4K release from Cineverse. This is in HDR10. Looks really good. The color palette is nuanced and deep. Nice textural details, a lot of the goopy practical effects, which I love that there's so much practical effects in this movie. It looks really great in 4K. And the soundtrack is DTS 5.1, and it sounds good. Not overloaded with special features, but a good amount. You got a commentary track, you get a behind the scenes featurette, you get an interview, and like a featurette on the 40th anniversary of the Toxic Avengers franchise. So overall, good release from Cineverse for Toxic Avenger. A lot of fun and worth checking out. If you like the original series, or even if you don't, still give this one a shot, because good time. And now we have our second label debut for the show. This is not a new label like Apple TV. This is just new to our show. It is a label from Australia in collaboration with a US-based label. So from Umbrella from Australia and Draft House Films here, a collaboration on the 4K deluxe edition of Freaked, the 90s oddball lost film, kind of very rare, hard to find film, comedy from the early 90s that's basically didn't have a life beyond like VHS. And it barely made any money upon its theatrical release, and now we have it with a new 4K restoration. Here's co-director and star Alex Winter from Bill and Ted fame. Underneath the slipcover, it's a slightly different version. You can kind of see his deformed version. And there is a reversible version of this, but the other side just has the overseas rating logo, which I don't like to see, so I just flipped it. Here's a 4K disc, a Blu-ray disc with the movie, and then a disc dedicated to additional supplements, which I'll get into here in a little bit. Umbrella, I don't have a ton of their releases. I have like maybe 4 or 5 releases, but every one of them is super impressive with like a huge box. You get, look at this nice hardbound book here, full of just great material and information, essays and stuff. Lots of great art, all kinds of stuff in here. So lots of care put into there. You get an additional script here, so you can see that. And you also get some other odds and ends. You get a kind of a little comic book here. Show that off. And a couple of things like little odds and ends here. And then I think some stickers here. And here is the back card that goes on here that I took off the adhesive, and you can kind of pack it neatly into the box. I love whenever companies cut them that can easily fit into the collection, so I don't have to fold it or anything or toss it, so I can have that information at the ready. So lots of great physical goodies here. Oh, I also have another additional thing that I haven't showed off yet. That came packed. You don't package it inside that case. It was kind of packed on the outside, and that is a vinyl poster that comes in this kind of little envelope. This kind of, it's, I don't know where I would personally put this up, but it is a interesting addition, so I'll show it off. It's like a vinyl poster here that you get with your purchase from Umbrella. So this is a film about a kind of a washed up TV child actor who's grown up, started working as a spokesperson for a nefarious corporation, goes on a trip, meets up with some people, ends up getting detoured to a freak show that is run by Randy Quaid's character, who is kind of a mad scientist who kind of transforms anyone who happens to kind of stumble across his path into a freak and to be part of his show and stuff. So there's a lot of colorful characters that you meet here, and the main goal is trying to take this, like, for everyone to like kind of band together and take him down and kind of get justice and expose all the misdoings and of the corporations and all that kind of stuff. Very crude humor. Not all of it works, but it is pretty amusing. What I loved most about this are the practical effects that like bring all of these kind of creatures, freaks, and stuff together. It's really well done, and like a lot of juvenile humor, but there were moments that I found myself laughing out loud. Sometimes I rolled my eyes, but a lot of really fun moments. Especially, I love Bobcat Goldthwait's character on here, who plays like a sock man. He made me laugh a lot. And this is just, it was kind of like a notorious movie I'd heard of. I wasn't sure if I'd ever get to check it out. I believe it had kind of a really rough YouTube version for a while. But this was a movie that wasn't the easiest to find. So the fact that a company like Draft House and Umbrella, they collaborated to make this 4K restoration happen. We're able to kind of get this away from the clutches of Disney. This kind of a win on all fronts that for kind of cult cinema, that these boutique labels, they really put all their efforts in to kind of make the most of even the smallest movie. And that's, most people don't know Freaked, but those who know Freaked will be very excited to get a lavish set like this. This was the same company that did like a huge, even bigger set for the notorious Super Mario Brothers movie, which is on my shelf. I can see it right now. Umbrella is great, and if I had unlimited funds, I would get all of their releases. But Freaked, it is well worth the money if you are interested in the movie. The presentation couldn't be better. It's been a 4K restoration encoded by Fidelity and Motion. If you know, you know. They're one of the best in the game, and this is encoded perfectly. It looks fantastic. Dolby Vision, colors are terrific. It really, you couldn't find a better visual representation of this movie. You also get a 5.1 track or the original 2.0 track, depending on which one you want to. Both sound good. You get tons and tons of special features. You get a archival commentary track, I believe it was from 2004. You get 2 alternate versions of the movie. That's what's on the 3rd disc for the most part, along with additional special features. You get a work print version of the movie, which is very rough. You see like the time codes and all that stuff from like the old original footage. And then you get a rehearsal cut, which is just watching a version of the movie constructed from the rehearsals, like whenever they were just kind of performed by the actors, like in like a studio and stuff. So you get those 2, and then you get tons of new interviews, tons of archival interviews. You get some behind the scenes. You get a short film. You get deleted scenes. You get so much material that you needed a release of this size to house it all. Umbrella pulled out all the stops. I'm glad that they collaborated with Draft House for this. And this is really just a knockout set. I want all the things from Umbrella, but it is worth seeking this out and importing this from them if you're interested in the movie. Really, really amazing release. Super impressed by them. They really are just one of the top boutique labels in the world. And speaking of one of the best boutique labels in the world, one of my other nominations for that title, which is interesting to call them a boutique considering they have Warner in the title, but I do consider them a boutique because they are a subset. It is time to once again explore the Warner archive for a number of titles from this past month. First of which is their new 4K collaboration with Hammer, and that is the Curse of Frankenstein and 4K Ultra HD. Now, it hasn't been that long since I talked about the 2020 Blu-ray release of this. I believe it may have been last year or the year before I talked about this. Definitely recently, because I was a little bit behind on getting that. But of course, now I didn't think that release could be topped, and I was wrong, because now they've done another 4K restoration of this movie from the best surviving preservation elements, and it looks even better. And so all the laurels I put on the original Blu-ray release from 2020 from Warner Archive, That release is impressive, but they've somehow topped themselves with this new 4K restoration in collaboration with Hammer. Now, I won't go too deep into the plot of this. It's just another iteration of Frankenstein. You got talented people like Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing as the monster and Dr. Frankenstein, respectively. And it's a really interesting take on the tale, and perfectly in time with the new release of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein. Very different, but Hammer, they always had really interesting takes on these classic monsters and stuff. But what is really impressive about this release is the new restoration in collaboration with Hammer. This was in Dolby Vision. It looks amazing. And like the original Warner Archive Blu-ray, this includes 3 different aspect ratios you can choose from. I know there's 1.80, 1.85 by 1. There's like 1.66 by 1, I believe. Yeah, and 1.37 by 1. So 3 different aspect ratios, all in 4K with Dolby Vision, so you can choose which is your preference. I think 1.67 or 1.66 is probably the preferred version. I believe that's the one that went out in the UK. And probably it strikes the best balance in the composition. But just having these different options just shows you how much care was put into this product, that they just didn't put like one aspect ratio in 4K and then just like relegated the other 2 to HD or whatever. All 3 have been restored and they look really nice in Dolby Vision. Another Fidelity in Motion encode looks fantastic. And you also have a new audio option. You have the original stereo, the original 2.0 audio, but you also have a 5.1 that has been created that kind of expands things out a little tastefully, naturally, but it's your choice if you want to go with the original or a new 5.1 mix. But both sound good. You get 4 commentary tracks. Each aspect ratio gets at least 1 commentary track. I believe it's the 1.85. On the second disc, that gets 2 commentary tracks. And then you get tons and tons of featurettes that have been produced in collaboration with Hammer. There's some new stuff, and then all the archival stuff from the previous release has also been carried over, interviews and whatnot. Really just a lavish release once again from Warner Archive. And also, they have upgraded their Blu-ray version of this as well. So you can get this release on Blu-ray with the updated restoration and updated special features as well. So make sure to check that out, even if you're Blu-ray only. But this 4K release, you only get the movie in 4K on this release. The Blu-ray disc is just the special features. So keep that in mind. But if you're a fan of this film, worth checking out. The Curse of Frankenstein from Hammer. They've done a really nice job this Warner Archive release in collaboration with Hammer. The closest I could probably get tonally to the Curse of Frankenstein to continue on is not close at all. It just involves a murder, but it is a kind of a screwball comedy as well, and that is the Mad Miss Manton with Barbara Stanwyck and Henry Fonda. About a woman played by Barbara Stanwyck who, with a gaggle of friends who kind of find themselves kind of accidentally getting themselves involved in a murder investigation, and they're trying to solve this murder while also kind of putting themselves in peril, and also crossing paths with Henry Fonda's character, who's a newspaper reporter who is slowly falling in love with Barbara Stanwyck, and just kind of their interesting kind of bickering back and forth and playfulness and just growing affection for one another. All the while there is a killer at large, and how that kind of culminates in the end. It's a fun time. I really enjoyed this. Great chemistry between Stanwyck and Fonda, which makes sense given their history. And just a really fun time. It's not overly serious, even with it involving murder. But it's definitely a good time, and I enjoyed it. Good restoration from Warner Archive. You do get a 4K scan of the original camera negative. Looks terrific. Just great contrast and organic film grain. Everything looks good. Like, I did not notice even like a speck of damage. MPI and Warner Archive always do really great with their restoration work, and I think people will be very pleased with how this looks. You do get some special features on this one, some cartoons, and a trailer. The sound is also as solid as it can be. A little bit of an older movie, but everything sounds good. So overall, if you're a Barbara Stanwyck fan or Henry Fonda fan, the Mad Miss Manton, definitely worth checking out. It's a fun one. It's silly, but it's a good time. A little bit more serious is with the great Ida Lupino and John Garfield. We are over with Out of the Fog. This is kind of a hard-boiled story, and with John Garfield is a kind of a racketeer who shakes down small business people and offers to protect their wares, like their boats and stuff, in exchange for money. But what it basically means is if they don't pay up, he is going to destroy their boats and make sure they feel the pain until they do find themselves paying for his protection. And at the same time, he gets his eye on a specific girl, played by Ida Lupino, who happens to be the daughter of one of his most recent victims of his crime. And she really starts to get a thrill from being with this kind of charismatic man. And she kind of gets wrapped up in this world, while not completely, like, she loves her father, but then she also kind of likes how she feels and the independence she feels when she's with John Garfield's character. It's very morally complex, and I'm not going to spoil this movie. I would never do that. But I will just say I really like how this ends up, and how it eventually all the plot threads come together, and how this movie portrays its own morality in terms of like what should or could be done. I find it fascinating, and I really I was holding my breath throughout this movie because it made me very uncomfortable. But I really liked it, and it's very dark at times, but ultimately very satisfying. So I really liked Out of the Fog. Great Blu-ray release from Warner Archive. What is new? We get a 4K scan from the original camera negative. Looks terrific. No complaints. Great grayscale. Everything deep black levels. Organic film grain. Everything is tops. You get some cartoons with this. You get a trailer. Everything looks and sounds really good. It's the quality you expect from Warner Archive. No complaints with Out of the Fog. Another crime-related movie that's definitely star-driven. We have Robert Mitchum and Robert Ryan, the two Roberts, in The Racket. We also get Elizabeth Scott in this. And it's a pretty standard tale. You have Robert Mitchum as the cop who cannot be bought in a kind of like a den of kind of corrupt politicians and officials and all kinds of stuff. And Robert Ryan is the person who is paying those people off and trying to get away with his petty crimes and stuff. And so it's like these two opposing forces butting heads, and how Mitchum is this person trying to clean up crime around the city, and how that they eventually clash and how that eventually works out. I found it to be very entertaining. Like I said, it's not overly complex, but it's a very good movie, and especially watching these two people act opposite one another, that's a real treat. So another great release from Warner Archive for this one. You get a 4K scan of the original camera negative. Once again, no complaints. Everything is organic. Everything looks fantastic. No major damage. No blown highlights. Everything you can want out of a transfer, you pretty much get from this one. Everything sounds as solid as possible as well. There's maybe minor variances here and there, but given the age of the material, you can pretty much understand any kind of minor swings, but they've kind of dialed things into a very good wavelength. In terms of special features, you get a commentary track and a trailer. The commentary track is from famous film noir expert Eddie Muller. So that's really cool. So check out the Racket. If you like film noir, this one's a good one for your Noirvember offerings. If you're participating, definitely check out the Racket. I was very excited to see my next movie. I got to see one of my favorite old school actresses, Myrna Loy, opposite Clark Gable and William Powell. Before her and Powell would go on to star in the Thin Man movies, we have Manhattan Melodrama. This is a little bit more serious affair in which Powell and Gable play kind of childhood friends who grow up to be on the wrong side of the law. It's kind of a conceit that's been used in a lot of old school movies, but it's used very well here. Powell plays the kind of upstanding lawyer who's like eventually going up to be in politics. And Gable is that crooked man who will run all the different schemes and stuff and do what he needs to do to survive. But they remain friends after years and years of these diverging paths, especially whenever Gable sends his girl, played by Myrna Loy, to kind of hang out with Powell for a night to kind of celebrate with him. And she ends up seeing that there could be a better life out there. She doesn't have to be like a gangster's girl who is just kind of taken for granted and in this unhealthy place. So she ends up falling in love with William Powell's character, and then that's a whole thing. But I like how this movie uses its friendship in different these two guys, they care about one another, but they also are on opposing sides, and seeing how they each reckon with that at different points in their trajectory. It works very well, and I found it to be a very entertaining movie. I believe this movie, based on what is said on the back of the package, has a notorious distinction within film history as being the film that John Dillinger watched right before he walked out of the theater and got arrested. So that's an interesting tidbit. But I'm glad to know that he watched a good film before getting caught finally. Manhattan Melodrama, really good time, and I'm glad it got released from Warner Archive. You do get a 4K scan of the best preservation elements. If I wasn't told that this wasn't completely from an original camera negative, I wouldn't have known, because it still looks as good as any other Warner Archive release. They can do magic with their restorations, and it looks really, really good. Audio-wise, it's an older movie, but it still holds up pretty well. Maybe minor variances here and there, maybe a little sibilance and stuff, but overall not much in the way of crackling or distortion or anything. Everything sounds really good, but everything looks good, sounds good. And you do get a couple of shorts and stuff and a trailer. So if you're a fan of any of these performers, definitely check out Manhattan Melodrama. Well worth your time. Speaking of melodrama, next we have going forward a couple of decades to A Summer Place from the Warner Archive, in which a former kind of farmhand, houseboy, turned kind of wealthy businessman comes back to the place where he used to work as kind of a lowly figure. And it stirs up all this old drama, especially with this woman that he loved, who is now married to a man who is in deep debt, but he's trying to run this inn that this man now him and his family are staying at. But there ends up being a lot of drama involving these older adults who were once kind of in love with one another, who never got together, and then their children who are also starting to fall for one another. And there's definitely different socioeconomic things going on here. There's a horrible woman that is this girl's mother, who stirs up a lot of shit that made me really upset. It made me want to yell at her, but made for a good movie. And there's a lot of just deep feelings, deep emotions, heartbreak, all kinds of stuff going on here. It's a lot, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So if you like high melodrama, A Summer Place definitely delivers that. You got Sandra Dee in here, Dorothy McGuire, Arthur Kennedy, Constant Ford. Yeah, it's great, and I like seeing Sandra Dee in her older movies. She does a good job, and seeing this movie, it's a 4K scan of the original camera negative. It looks really, really nice. It's a color film, and there's some lush colors in here. No major damage or anything like that. Everything's been cleaned up. It's pretty much been eradicated, but kept organic looking with the film grain. No complaints. Audio is also in very good shape. No complaints there as well. You get a cartoon and a trailer. Overall, A Summer Place. Nice release from Warner Archive. Next up from the Warner Archive, we have another Errol Flynn movie, another one this year. I know people are excited anytime we do Errol Flynn. This time we have The Master of Ballantrae. This is a tale of Scottish rebellion. It's a tale of two brothers who are having to fight on each side of the war in order so that their family, one way or another, can come out on top. There's a lot of backstabbing, conniving, just swashbuckling, romance. There's a lot of stuff going on here. But if you like a good kind of like stirring multi-year tale, The Master of Ballantrae, it delivers. You got a very charismatic Errol Flynn. You got him on a pirate ship for a while in a certain sequence. There's a lot of stuff going on, but it's all good times. I really enjoyed watching this the other morning. It's a really nice looking disc. It's a 4K scan of the Technicolor negative. Whenever Warner Archive deals with Technicolor, they always knock it out of the park. And this is such a lush presentation. You will not be disappointed. They've done such a nice job restoring this one, and it looks like $1,000,000. Errol Flynn fans will be very appreciative of this one. It looks fantastic. Sounds good as well. In terms of special features, you get some cartoons and a trailer, but really just a really, really wonderful release. This isn't my only Technicolor title I'll be talking about. Give me a beat, and I'll return to that in a second. But first, talking about maybe my favorite Warner Archive title I'm talking about this month, and that is Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins. Now, is it because I love Alan Arkin? Maybe. But it's also a really fun kind of take on a road trip film with Sally Kellerman and Mackenzie Phillips here. Rafferty, Gunny Rafferty, Alan Arkin's character, he is a man who's kind of like discontented with his life. He's kind of like works at a place where he's just kind of like the wallpaper. He's just basically not thought of very much. And one morning he kind of gets caught up with these two kind of like woman around his age and then a younger girl, like kind of teenager age. And they're kind of not on the run, but just kind of like hitchhiking their way across and making their way across the land. And they end up kind of convincing him to go with them / kind of kidnapping him. But they end up going on a road trip. They get into various crazy situations. But it ultimately kind of becomes almost like a found family film, which I really, really love. There's a lot of great people that you meet along the way. You got a Harry Dean Stanton appearance. You get a Charles Martin Smith sequence that's also a lot of fun with him and Mackenzie Phillips. Just a great like period. I believe this is in the 70s. Just like that period of filmmaking and just their narrative ambition, what they wanted to do. I was just completely engrossed in this film. It's funny, but there's also some emotion behind it, some thought. And it's not one I'd even really heard about before. So that's one of the things I love about the Warner Archive is they just kind of pluck these little gems out from the past and they just allow me to watch them for the first time in great quality, and I just fall in love. And this is just one I really, really enjoyed. I miss Alan Arkin, so seeing some of these films that he did back in the day that I've missed, it's just such a treat. And this Blu-ray looks amazing. 4K scan of the original camera negative. No complaints. Everything looks great. Everything's been eradicated in terms of damage and stuff. Colors look perfect. No deep black levels. Everything looks great. Sound is great as well. Not much in the way of special features, just a trailer on this one, but just having this in great quality, can't be disappointed with Rafferty and the Gold Dust Twins. My final Warner Archive title, not my final title, have a huge slate this week. Lovely to look at. This is a pretty amusing comedy about some a trio of producers who are trying to put on a play, but they are kind of cash strapped until they learn that one of them has a stake in a clothing boutique overseas that they think that they can go over and sell to get that money and put towards their endeavors. But once they get there, they realize that this clothing boutique shop is in very dire financial straits. So they concoct a scheme in order to work with these women who work at the boutique to form a stage production that will feature the clothing from the shop in order to drive sales to the shop. So they are making kind of a play around these clothes to sell clothes. And then along the way, you have a bunch of different configurations of different men and women falling in love and stuff. So it's very silly and whimsical and screwball, but it's a fun time. You got people like Howard Keel, Red Skeleton, you got Catherine Grayson, Margot Champion, you got an appearance by Zsa Zsa Gabor. Overall, fun time, good movie. Another Technicolor movie that I mentioned that we'd be getting back to. 4K scan of the Technicolor negative. Looks amazing. Love a Technicolor restoration. They've done a nice job with Lovely to look at. You get a cartoon, you get a short film and a trailer. Everything about this release, top notch. Warner Archive, one of my favorites in the business. No harsh words against them because they always really make me happy and they always do a nice job and I love them over there. So Lovely to look at. Worth checking out if you like kind of a lighthearted musical comedy of errors, all that kind of stuff. This is what you want. Now we continue going to yet again another one of my favorite labels. It's been a blessing this week to go to so many good releases. Now we're going over to Arrow Video, but we are staying in the land of Warner because they've licensed some really big Warner titles for the next few that I'm going to be talking about. The first of which was totally stunned whenever they said they were going to release this. This is Arrow's 4K release of The Mask. Jim Carrey, the classic hit that everyone quoted back in the day, still quotes sometimes. P-A-R-T. Why? 'Cause I gotta. And smoking. Just so many classic readings from Jim Carrey. This was prime Jim Carrey. This is the introduction to Cameron Diaz. This is a reversible cover art for The Mask here. I just went ahead and reversed it. And just, it's the tale of Jim Carrey as a lowly banker who finds a magical mask that kind of grafts onto his face and transforms his personality into this cartoon of a character that causes major destruction. And there's all in the midst of this kind of bank heist planning. So it's a fun time. All these have kind of the same back here. It's like a live action cartoon. It's great. You got beautiful women. You got silly humor. You got puppies being cute. You got it all. But this, I haven't watched this movie in quite a few years, but it's one that I used to watch a lot. Surprisingly, I never upgraded this to Blu-ray. I just had my old DVD from back in the day, so this is a huge upgrade for me. But I was super impressed by how it looks. This is a new 4K restoration of the original camera negative, supervised and approved by director Chuck Russell. And there's a nice booklet there. This looks like $1 million. They've done a really nice job with this restoration. You get the film finally in its original 1.85 by 1 aspect ratio. This has beautiful color in Dolby Vision. All the texture is like so forefront. Really deep black levels. You can really make out certain aspects that you couldn't really make out on previous discs. No blown highlights. Everything fans wanted from this release, Arrow delivered, in my opinion. You get 3 different audio options. You get the original 5.1, you get a stereo option, or you get a new Atmos option. Now, the Atmos option, it's tastefully rendered. It's not overbearing. It's not like completely new sound effects and stuff, but they expand things out pretty well whenever it's like necessary, especially whenever the mask is on and things are bouncing around the room and stuff. That's when you kind of take advantage more of the height channels. But if you just want the original soundtrack, those sound great as well, and they've been taken care of. You have all the archival special features that have been ported over, and then you got new special features. So special features include 2 different commentary tracks, a lot of interviews, none with Jim Carrey, but a lot of interviews, and you get video essays, deleted scenes, lots of really great stuff here. Era video is my best hope that I could have wished for The Mask. I hope they do Dumb and Dumber this way as well. I think we need it, but The Mask as is, I think a lot of people will be very pleased with this one. It's a great release from Era Video, and highest recommendation for this one. If you have an affection for this movie, this is a necessary release. Another one from Era Video that wasn't as highly anticipated, but I did want to watch it just because I've never seen it and I was curious. And that is Red Planet. This has Carrie-Anne Moss and Val Kilmer, Terrence Stamp, Tom Sizemore, Simon Baker. This is a reversible cover art here. This will not impact everyone. I do just want to mention that I got a copy that got like a chunk out of it in the bottom, so that was a bit disappointing. It got a little bit crushed in the mail, but the disc is intact, and that's what's important. But this was a movie. Red Planet is always a movie, and I think a lot of people have this issue that I always confuse with Mission to Mars, another movie I haven't seen, but I do want to see because it's a Brian De Palma picture. But this one, it's pretty decent. For like kind of popcorn fun. You can kind of see this is like a robot, that kind of they have to deal with on the surface, but it's basically, there's a crew, attempting to make it to Mars, to colonize it. Earth's kind of in trouble, and they need to kind of like begin that process of colonizing Mars. But they experience a solar flare, which, separates all the boys they kind of get sent to Mars and an escape pod, and then Carrie-Anne Moss is the survivor on the craft itself, who's communicating with the people back on Earth, trying to figure out if they survived, if they can like form a rescue mission, if they're gonna have to leave them behind. And there's all kinds of stuff going on the surface of Mars in terms of like inhabitability issues, people like getting hurt during transport, people finding different threats on the planet. So it's a good kind of action thriller. Val Kilmer does a pretty decent job. It's good to see Carrie-Anne Moss kind of be a badass outside of the Matrix franchise. Not the best movie I've ever seen. There are a few character choices, especially near the end, that I was kind of baffled by. But I did have fun with it, and I think it's a kind of a decent popcorn watch for sure. So if you're a fan of this, I think you'll be pleased with how this looks on 4K Ultra HD. This is another 4K scan of the original 35mm camera negative. It looks really, really good on 4K in Dolby Vision. A lot of space and like black, like the blackness of space is here, and there's deep black levels, so you kind of get the appropriate depth of anytime there's a look into space. That's really dialed into the kind of the appropriate levels. No blooming in the highlights or anything like that. There's really good textures, especially when you're inside the spacecraft. All the like the unique little dials and stuff is very impressive. All the beads of sweat, they're accounted for. This has not been kind of unnaturally DNR'd or anything. This is organic and faithful to how it's supposed to look. And yeah, everything looks good. DTS 5.1 track sounds good. It's appropriately powerful whenever things are going to hell and things are exploding or bopping around and stuff. Everything sounds good. You do get a couple of special features, not packed, but you get a couple of new interviews. You get a retrospective appreciation piece and some deleted scenes and stuff. So not like a laundry list of things, but a couple of good special features and a good AV presentation. So Red Planet, if you're a fan of this film, definitely the best way to own this and definitely worth checking out. And this wasn't my only foray into space, and one that I enjoyed quite a bit more is from the early 80s from Peter Hyams, Outland with Sean Connery. I really enjoyed this tale about Sean Connery plays a lawman on one of the moons of Jupiter. There's like an outpost where they're like kind of harvesting resources. And while he is out there, he ends up being kind of abandoned by his family. He's kind of left out adrift to kind of police alone. And he's kind of dealing with that while dealing with kind of like a low-key conspiracy where there are people like it's kind of been a rash of people losing their minds and killing themselves by like opening up their like helmets and stuff out in the vacuum of space and like exploding themselves and stuff. And while it is initially believed that this is just a suicide, like way to commit suicide, it slowly starts to kind of be revealed that there might be a little bit more to it, and it's up to Sean Connery to figure out what's going on. And the way this kind of like plays itself out is like so, like it's paced so well, it's so engaging, and like Connery, he just like does such a good job of like commanding authority and kind of going up against different forces. Like Peter Boyle, who people may know most is like the grandfather or dad, however you want to define him, from Everybody Loves Raymond. He does a really good job opposite of Sean Connery in this one. There's a lot of good performers in here, but this is just like, it was made in the early 80s, but it feels like premium 70s filmmaking, just in like its tone and just like pacing and everything. The score is fantastic. The model work to like accomplish the special effects and stuff, I love it. It's so tactile and nice. It's such a different vibe than what we get nowadays with the digital effects. This just looks so good. I loved just luxuriating in this production design. It was fantastic. And it's such a fun movie, so engaging. Just a really, really cool movie that I had no idea existed. But it's very, very much worth your time. It's a space movie, but it's not overly sci-fi. It's very much grounded in characters and realism, but with a little bit of flourishes here and there. But Outland, love it. Good sci-fi movie. It's been given a 4K restoration from the 35mm camera negative. It looks amazing in 4K, in Dolby Vision. These older movies, like in the 70s or 80s especially, always look pristine. And whenever they're done right in 4K, they look like they were made for 4K. And just like the natural film grain, rendered so well. Everything looks really good. The colors are nice. It's everything I wanted from this. I've said that a lot on this episode, but really, whenever these companies, they are like firing on all cylinders, it can't be beat. We live in a golden age of like physical media, and I love it so much. And you get a 5.1 track and a 2.0 track as well. Both of those sound good. Nothing. The 5.1 track is just kind of a little bit more opened up, and it sounds good. 2 commentary tracks for this one, some interviews, and a video essay. So once again, not like hours and hours of special features, but some good special features from Arrow Video. And another good discovery this episode. Love this. Good, very much worth checking out if you like space film, Sean Connery films. Just a nice, well done drama. Outland is one to check out. Next up, I'm going to go through a series of television shows. I've been working on some of these for a couple of weeks and just kind of putting them on when I have extra time. And it's been a treasure trove. All of these are from Universal. First up from Universal, season 1 of the Peacock original, The Day of the Jackal. This is a take on the classic novel of that name. And there's a 70s movie called The Day of the Jackal. There's also a Bruce Willis movie called The Jackal that I think most people don't claim. But The Day of the Jackal takes that kind of basic premise of we have Eddie Redmayne as a master assassin who's going around using all the tools in his toolkit to kind of like arrange elaborate assassinations and just like pulling off crazy jobs as an assassin. And we have Lashana Lynch as the woman who's trying to track him down. It's a great cat and mouse drama. It's done very well. Just hearing The Day of the Jackal, I didn't really have high hopes for it just because I was like, okay, we're doing something with a classic property. But they really did a really nice job with it, fleshing it out, giving our protagonist, a little bit more of a backstory. He has a family that kind of goes along with things as well. And the way this develops over this first season, it was ordered for a second season as well that hasn't premiered yet. I had a great time with it. It's just like a premium drama. This was actually nominated for a couple of Emmys, including Best Drama. And I understand why, because it's just a really well done thriller, political thriller, drama. Everything is great. It's like kind of using the best parts of Eddie Redmayne's like creepiness. He's kind of like reptilian, and he can kind of adapt and like slither into different personalities and stuff when he's trying to kind of blend in and take these jobs on and stuff. He's very cold when necessary, but just has subtle elements of warmth. Lashana Lynch is a badass, and I love her character, and you get a little bit of her family stuff as well, and just how she develops. Great two-hander here. Great scale for these 10 episodes that we get in this first season. DTS 5.1 track sounds really good. Some featurettes for special features. Nothing too in-depth, but a couple of special features, like including one that shows how they pulled off a particularly impressive stunt. But overall, Day of the Jackal, glad to have more TV on Blu-ray. Always happy for that. Glad to get a Peacock show off of streaming only and onto disc. Day of the Jackal, worth checking out. A more curious TV addition from Universal. I wasn't expecting this, but I was like, sure, what the hell, why not? Is Happy's Place, season 1. Now, I picked this up mainly because I like Reba McEntire. I watched her titular show, Reba, back in the day, and I own all those on DVD, and I had a lot of fun. It's a classic sitcom, and what I read is this Happy's Place started as a Reba reboot, and then they decided to go kind of a different way, and that you still have her main lady from Reba, her frenemy who kind of made her life hell, but she's doing pretty much the same role in Happy's Place, but now we're transported to a bar Reba's playing. The owner of this bar, named after her father, who's recently passed away, she has inherited it. But in the first episode, what we learn, and this isn't a spoiler because it's a key part of the show itself, is that her father had a daughter that she didn't know about, the girl didn't know about, but she has also inherited half of the bar. So now this young girl here, they have to kind of co-run the bar together, learn how to be sisters. There's a kind of a generation gap because she is in her early 20s. Reba is Reba's age. And just learning about all the kind of the inhabitants of this kind of bar and all their peculiarities and stuff. It's not overly complex, but it's a fun time if you're like into kind of like a 3-camera sitcom, like a traditional sitcom. Not all the jokes are like gut-bustingly hilarious, but it's like it's amusing enough to like have on kind of more so in the background and enjoy it. I laughed a fair amount, but it's not my favorite sitcom I've ever watched. I like Reba a little bit more, but it did get stronger as the season progressed, and you learned a little bit of like the strengths of each performer, and like started kind of writing to more of those strengths. But overall, like I said, not the best show I've ever seen, but I like Reba, and if you like Reba, Happiest Place is probably a safe watch for you. It's a pretty good time. And once again, glad to not have to catch up on this on streaming. I'm glad to have this on physical media. As a little bit baffling as it is, I'm glad to have it on physical media. Another show I was actually really excited to catch up on because I had seen that it was around, but I never got around to it. From NBC was St. Denis Medical. This is, the best way I can say this is, basically, if it was The Office, but in a hospital, it would be St. Denis Medical. It's a mockumentary style. You have a colorful group of people, including led by Allison Tolman's like the head nurse here. You got David Allen Greer as a doctor. Wendy McClendon-Clovey as like an administrator. There's a lot of interesting personalities here. Very, very funny. I found myself laughing quite a bit. And the early seasons of The Office took a little bit to get really cooking. This is an 18-episode season, so was Happy's Place. I didn't mention that. And there's no features on Happy's Place. But this is an 18-episode season for St. Denis Medical. And it was really solid from the beginning, but it continues to get better. And I know that the second season, I believe, is premiering this week or maybe like last night on NBC. So I'm interested to see how the second season continues. But as for this first season, loved it. Glad it's on Blu-ray. Glad that I got the chance to catch up. Now I have to watch ads or anything like that because ad-free tiers on Peacock are expensive, and I don't have unlimited funds. So St. Denis Medical, glad to have this on Blu-ray. This 18 episodes looks great. Modern series, no anomalies or anything. Sounds good as well. This one actually does have a couple of special features, like some featurettes and some gag reels and stuff. Universal continuing a trio of good-looking, sounding good Blu-rays for television fans. This and Day of the Jackal are probably my favorite of the TV shows. Both very good in different ways, but give this one a shot for sure if you want a good laugh. Just a few more before we pack it up. Also from Universal, we have the new movie Honey Don't on Blu-ray. This is from Ethan Coen of the Coen Brothers fame. Another movie that he wrote with his wife Trisha Cook after Drive Away Dolls last year. And I was a little bit mixed on Drive Away Dolls, and I'm also a little bit mixed on Honey Don't. I might have actually liked Honey Don't a little bit better, though. Up until the end, there are some creative choices I didn't quite gel with, but overall, I found it to be a pretty decent time in which Margaret Qualley is a private detective who gets kind of mixed up in this investigation with this woman who was trying to secure her services. She ends up dead, and you start to see that she was connected back to this church that is run by Chris Evans that has some weird stuff going on there. And then she also kind of gets involved with this woman at the police station who works in like evidence and stuff, played by Aubrey Plaza. It has a really good ensemble. There's a lot of really funny moments. It's very queer. Honey is a lesbian. and she like has that relationship with Aubrey Plaza. And these between this and Dry Boy Dolls, there's some very frank depictions of sexuality, which sure I'm all for it. I like Trisha Cook and stuff go off. Like I just wish the movies themselves like match some of their other ambitious proclivities. But overall, I think I like this more than most people. I do. There are some drawbacks to it. But overall, I had a pretty decent time. I didn't hate it by any means. It just like there were just a few things near the end that I didn't quite gel with. That kind of dropped it down like a point or so. But overall, fun movie. Love Mark Qualley. I do wish I think the Coen brothers are better together. I wish they kind of get back together, but we'll see how they continue to do on their own. Dolby True HD 5.1 sounds good. Visually looks great. Brand new movie. No complaints. No special features. So if you just want the movie on Blu-ray, looks good. Sounds good. No complaints. Honey dope. Next up, a little bit something different from Kit Parker Films and MBD Entertainment. We have Laurel and Hardy, the Definitive Restorations Volume 2. This includes like 8 short films from the comedic duo. I haven't watched the first volume of this. This is kind of released during a period where it got lost in the mix. But I know that release was pretty controversial for its use of DNR and creating like a waxy like image over these like beautiful restorations. And I understand that. I kind of clocked that on the from what I've researched on the previous set. But for this set, that's definitely rolled back a lot. It's not completely abandoned. There are a couple of shorts that do kind of seem to use that more than others. But there's a lot of organic qualities to this in this set. And I think overall from what I've understand of the first release, this seems to be like a really solid step forward after that. And just like these restorations, they're not perfect, but they look largely really good and they're very entertaining. Laurel and Hardy, they're classic comedians, and they make me laugh quite a bit. Visually, I don't have a lot of major qualms. Like I said, there's a couple of DNR'd ones that have a little bit more than I'd like. But the biggest problem is usually with the era these were made is the sound quality is not perfect. It's definitely can be a little bit hollow sounding or just a little thin. But overall, these are as good as I think the material will allow. And overall, I think this is a really solid set. The shorts are very entertaining. They look pretty good. Sound as good as possible. They are been restored from the 35mm archival elements. And I was very impressed with how these look for the most part. And in terms of special features, a lot of these shorts have different versions of them. So that you can get multiple versions of the same short in terms of like different audio tracks and stuff. That you can kind of compare and stuff. You get some promotional videos from like the 60s and stuff that they were like talk shows and stuff. You get trailers and everything. So a nice balance of like supplements and special features and alternate versions and stuff with just these short films that are very entertaining. So if you're a Laurel and Hardy fan, probably worth checking these out. I think they've done a nice job, and I don't think you'll be too disappointed by this one. It's a nice addition to their overall output. My penultimate film is from Decal Releasing, and that is the horror film Coyotes, in which you have Justin Long and Kate Bosworth as a married couple whose house gets overrun by coyotes following like a storm that takes down a tree. They lose power, and coyotes are acting very strange in this particular neighborhood, and they're getting very violent. And it's outrageous. It's ridiculous. I love this type of film, like kind of like mindless horror, creature violence. The thing holding this one back from being like a lot of fun is just that the coyotes have to be digital. or I guess they don't have to be, but they are digital. And that takes me out a lot of like the moment and stuff and the violence and stuff. There's still a lot of fun to be had. I love Justin Long and Kate Bosworth. I love seeing her and stuff too. She's not in a lot, but every time I see her, I enjoy her. And some of the side characters and stuff are fun. And I did have a good time overall, but it's just that the digitalness of the movie just kind of like takes it down a little bit for me. So if you want just like a campy, outrageous, violent time, Coyotes is fun enough. I had a decent time, but just know it could be better with a little bit more finessing of the special effects, because they obviously didn't have like the budget to create like flawless digital Coyotes, but they did what they could, and it's passable. In terms of special features, there's like a behind the scenes piece on it. Not loaded, but good visual quality, good audio quality. No hangups with this. Coyotes, decent release if you like schlocky horror films. And finally, the big one for this week. There's a lot of big ones. The one I'm ending on this week, though, is from A24 and their impressive release of the X Trilogy from Ty West. And you are correct in thinking this is bigger than the normal size Blu-ray. This is the A24 and their gigantic packaging that they do for some of their releases that are kind of re-releases of pre-existing stuff. So Mia Goth and X, Pearl, and Maxine. You get this case that slips off here. You get the underwriting box here. You get a book that comes out here. You get a little bit of essay and artwork and stuff here. So nice book here. You get a little bit of a look at the evolution of Mia Goth over these 3 movies. I really like this trilogy for the most part. X and Pearl especially, I think, are really good. Maxine kind of lost me a little bit. I still enjoy it, but it's not on the same level of X or Pearl. But I just like following the characters over the generations and how they eventually kind of find themselves over this saga. There's a lot of great... I like how each has their own kind of personality. You kind of got like the throwback kind of like slasher film of X. You got kind of like an old school Hollywood melodrama with some killing and Pearl. And then you got more of like a sleazy 80s film with Maxine, with like neon tinge stuff. But one thing that is constant throughout is the presence of Mia Goth and just like her amazing performances. A lot of fun. And if you like this trilogy, it is cool to be able to finally own these on 4K. The Pearl and Maxine was available on 4K previously from Lionsgate. And I believe Pearl is now or previously available on 4K overseas. But this is the first time that these are being released all on 4K domestically. Only Pearl and X were released on Blu-ray from Lionsgate originally. But this new A24 collection, you can now get them all on 4K in Dolby Vision with Dolby Atmos audio. They look really, really nice in 4K. Very pleased with how these turned out. And everything looks aesthetically accurate to how each of them are supposed to look. The Dolby Atmos audio also sounds really good. No complaints. It seems like all the special features are carried over from those Lionsgate Blu-ray counterparts, from what I can tell. Plus, each film gets a commentary track now, and on Maxine you get a new audio interview or a new interview with the composer, which is also a cool addition. But they didn't add as many special features as I maybe anticipated that they might. But the packaging itself with like that whole booklet and everything is a addition that's well worth your time and money. And then the new commentaries from Ty West and stuff are also really cool. So if you're a fan of the X Trilogy, this is a really impressive set from A24. I love whenever we get new stuff from them. I love when we get catalog release from them. And glad that I'm able to finally own these 3 movies on 4K. So check it out. There's also a Blu-ray version available, but this is a 4K version. So make sure to check that out if you are a fan. That is all. I hope you have found something that interests you. I had a wide array of titles this week, and I hope there's something on that you are very interested in. If so, let me know in the comments. I always love hearing what is catching your interest. Let me know if there's something you want me to talk about on a future show. I'm very happy to do that. Make sure to share this with anyone that you know loves physical media, or you want to get into physical media and you think that there's something they would like on here. All of it's great. All of it really helps the show. I appreciate anyone who takes the time to like this video, share it with anyone, subscribing to the Geek Vibes Nation YouTube channel. All of it is so very appreciated. I love doing this every week for you. I will be back again next week with a fresh batch of titles. I've already watched a lot of stuff that I could have talked about on this episode, but I knew this was already going to be a long one, so I kind of chopped those off till next week. But I will be back again next week. I will be happy to talk physical media with you. But until next time, enjoy these movies.
Get away from me! You freak! I am Ortiz, the dog boy, leader of the freaks.
Kinda like the top dog.
Welcome to hell, Rick. Shake.
No, thanks. I don't plan on staying long. Huh? How many of you are there in here anyway?
First, I have a question for you, Ricardo. Who is starred in the film Exorcist II, the Heretic?
Huh?
Well, perhaps we should ask the Worm. Tell us, Worm, who is starred in the Exorcist II, the Heretic?
Olivia Newton-John.
Olivia Newton-John. Rick, do you agree or disagree?
This is nuts! This is crazy! Besides, it was Linda Blair.
Very good. It was Linda Blair. Circle gets the square. All right. That's cool.